Hello, hello, hello everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Spot for Art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you how to create a little joy in your life through some fun, simple, and quick art projects. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button now so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Today I'm working on sort of a kids thing. I'm doing it in person for a library for kids, and it's going to be a dad themed one, but I'm going to show you guys how to paint this. I'm going to turn you guys around and we will get started. That's not it. There we go. Okay, so if you have the kit, you already have a pre-traced canvas. If you ordered the digital download, you have a printable like this, a tracer. You have printed it out. You have some graphite paper, or you're going to attempt to draw it on by hand. And I'm just going to get started. I'm going to trace this whole entire design. You don't need all the little lines. You just need the basic shapes. The rest is basically because of shading and highlighting, and we don't have to worry about that until we paint. So again, I am Teresa. If you have not hit the subscribe button yet, please do. I have many step-by-step video tutorials for all ages and all experience and abilities. So if you want to check out my library of videos on the YouTube, that would be great. And you see, I'm just doing the basics. I'm just tracing in, put the little white for the pupil. I'm going to do the mouth. The popcorn might become a little tedious. They're just little abstract shapes. And you're going to see how we're going to make them look popcorn-like when we get to painting. You don't have to add in all the little action lines because we're going to paint them in, and when we do our background we would actually be painting over them, so we're going to skip those. And I'm just putting in all these. They almost look like odd shaped stones or popcorn, haha. Anyway. And you see this goes fairly quick. I'm keeping my hand on here unless my tape is really sturdy. I tend to reuse my tape, so it may not be that sturdy. And I want to, every once in a while, hinge up my layers to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I'm just eyeballing it a little bit. It's easy to lose your place. And I just want to make sure that I have every line in here that I need. Oh, and I forgot this one here. We want, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4 sections for red on our box. And I think, I got it now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another little line in here in the middle. You can make these solid and not have a smiley face. You can put a little label on here that says popcorn. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so now I'm going to take that off, take this off, and fold up my very well worn piece of graphite paper. Okay, the first thing I want to do is get out 2 blues and some white. You don't need a real lot of paint. A lot of times we put out way more paint than we need. It's a little deceiving, but you don't really need a lot of paint. And when you order kits from me, you have more than enough paint. You could probably even do 2, if not more, projects with the amount of paint that I provide in my kits. Okay, so in this one I have out some, this is I think True Blue, some Peacock, and white. Okay, I have 3 brushes. I have a 1-inch brush, about a 1/2 inch brush and then a liner brush, which looks a little wonky, but once it gets in the water, it will all come together. We don't want to have bedhead on our brushes. Okay, so now I have my design outlined here, and I'm going to there we go. I work on tile, so I'd like to have this mouse pad here so it's not as noisy. I'm going to pick up some of this blue. I'm going to come over here and pick up some white, and I'm going to start painting in my background. Now when we're painting in the canvas, we need to go back and forth because our canvas has these little grooves. It's a weave. It is material. So in order to get in all these grooves, we need to go back and forth. If you just go one way, it's harder to fill in the grooves. So we want to go back and forth with our brush as we paint. And every time I'm picking up a little bit of blue, the light blue, and a little bit of white. I know our canvas is white, but I want my peacock blue to be a little bit lighter, and that's why I'm picking up some white with it every time. Now I'm going to come around here. If this is too hard for you, switch brushes and use a much smaller brush to go in and out and around your popcorn. It's okay if you get some on your popcorn, but we're really going to try and avoid getting too much blue or too much background color onto our popcorn. You may have a little bit more trouble controlling such a big brush, and that's okay. You can switch to one of the other brushes or even the liner brush at first to outline everything. I'm picking up a little blue, a little white. You see I'm using my wrist, and every time I'm going both ways on my canvas. I work my way back and then I work my way forward. Picking up a little blue, a little white. I'm gonna go around this one, hanging out here. And we're just gonna keep going and filling in our entire background. Now, the beauty of YouTube and video is that if I'm going too fast for you, you can hit pause. If I'm going too slow for you, you can just speed up and move on, and we'll get all caught up. If you need a break, hit the pause button. Come back later. Totally up to you. You have access to this video anytime you need it or want it. But remember, these designs are for personal use only and not to be used in any kind of small business or paint party business. This would be a great design for a birthday party or just movie night sleepover. And then again, I'm working my way down here and both ways, picking up a little blue, a little bit of white, and going around and filling in. This is a stretch canvas. If you want to paint your edges, you can go right ahead. That is totally up to you. You can paint them with the same color that we're using right now to paint, or you can do a totally different color. You can do a fun pattern. I have a video on doing patterns on edges. Also on my YouTube, you can put that in the search bar. A lot of times I do paint the edge, but not always. I'm going to use my brush on the side, and I'm just going to come right down here and make a straight line. If you can't do it in one, that's totally fine. Do a little bit at a time and then just go back and fill in your brush and go back to your strokes, going both ways, back and forth, back and forth. At some point I will need some fresh white. That's why I only put out a little bit of white. Get this line under here. Okay, now I'm going to make my corners a little bit darker. So I'm going to stick in here with my peacock blue, and I'm just going to dip my corner in the dark blue. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start darkening up my corners a little bit. Peacock blue, corner, and just start adding in a little bit of this darkness. Peacock blue, corner, and I'm still going back and forth, and I'm going to make around my whole entire canvas a little bit darker with this darker blue. Peacock, corner, and come in here. It just makes our background a little bit more interesting. Okay. I have a wobbly canvas here. I'm going to get up under my popcorn. You see I'm working a little quickly because this background is very messy, and that is okay. Every time I go back for fresh peacock and I only pick up a little bit of a corner on the dark blue, we don't want our dark blue to become overbearing or take over. Okay, down here I'm just going to make this a little bit darker, almost like a shadow underneath. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to wash my brush, and I'm probably going to be done with this little brush. Okay, put in my fresh water. Now I'm going to get out a little bit of my red. I'm going to move to the smaller brush. I'm going to fill my brush with paint. I like to put a little bit of pressure on my brush. I want my fibers to come together. I want to have a nice chisel edge on the top of my brush. I'm going to come back. I'm going to hold my brush on the side, almost like on a 45, and I'm going to paint the outline. I'm going to be skipping the white parts. If you need to paint the white parts, if you don't like skipping, that is totally up to you, and you can paint in the white. What I would suggest is that your red has to be 100% dry when you want to do your white. Otherwise, you're going to end up with pink. Okay. So I'm using my brush on the side. I'm coming in here, I'm filling in these corners, and then I want to paint in this whole entire area with red. Again, this is just the one color, but you want to go back and forth. You want to get in all those nooks and crannies of your canvas. Again, I loaded my brush. I used it on the side a little bit. Nice straight line there. and I fill it in. Okay. If you happen to get some on the mouth, on the eyes, it's okay. We work in layers, and I do these projects in certain steps on purpose. This way, if you get paint someplace else where you weren't supposed to, we'll be able to fix it when we get to that step. Okay, and again, we're just going to fill in this section here, going back and forth, so we fill in all the nooks and crannies of our canvas. Sometimes you may think you painted it, and then you'll go back and you'll see all these little white dots. That's because your canvas had some air bubbles in it, and they eventually popped, and now you have to go back in with some more paint. Take your time on this part, because the straighter these sections of your popcorn box are, the cooler it will look. And I say straight, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's art. Art does not have to be perfect. But, like I said, if you can get these as straight as possible and as neat as possible, you'll like your project a lot better. So take your time when it comes to painting in these stripes. I'm going to just put my brush up on the chisel edge to get right in there next to the eye. And then I'm going to start filling in these sections. And then the last one. Got a little too much paint down there. So let's just spread that out before I go get more paint. You don't want your paint to be ridgy or globby. So if you have an area on your project where you added a little too much paint, just take your brush and spread it all out, and then go pick up some more paint. If you can see too, when I pick up paint, I come over here to the edge. I'm applying pressure to my brush so I can neaten up my brush and keep my fibers nice and neat. I'm not coming over here and smashing my brush or putting it right into the main center or puddle of my paint. I'm going to the side, and I'm constantly, when I pick up paint, fixing the fibers on my brush. Occasionally we will get too much paint built up in our brush fibers, and it makes it a little bit hard to neaten your brush and have decent fibers on your brush. And if that's the case, you just want to grab your towel or your paper towel or whatever it is you're using, wipe off the paint, and start over again. You don't have to go into the water, but you do have to wipe off the paint, get that globbiness out of there. Now I'm going to wash my brush, give it a little rinse, and put out some yellow. The reason we wait to do the yellow is we want our blue to dry, because if we don't let our blue dry, we're going to end up with yellow and blue and some green popcorn. We don't want green popcorn, we want nice bright yellow popcorn to start with. So again, coming over here to the side, a little bit of pressure on my brush, keeping my brush fibers nice and neat and my chisel edge flat, and picking up a little bit of yellow paint. And now I'm just going to come in here and start painting in my popcorn. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the boxes, and I'm just going to outline this to begin with. There's the top of my box, and then here is all my popcorn. I can go around the edges doing the outline, and then I can fill it in. But for now I'm just using the edge, the corner of my brush, and I'm filling in all the wavy parts of my popcorn. You don't have to paint these in one at a time. You just want to get the uneven edges done. Okay, now I can go, oh, picked up a little bit of red, and go in here and fill all this in. Sometimes our yellow can be a little translucent, so if you wanted to wait and do a second coat on your yellow, you can. That's totally up to you. And I'm just going to do these little uneven shapes out here with the popcorn that's flitting around, popped out. If you need to switch to your liner brush to do these, that is totally up to you. I'm not worrying about them being perfect or anything, but if you feel better using the smaller brush, go right ahead. And then this one. Okay. I'm just going to come up in here and I'm just going to add a little bit more yellow. I'm not going to repaint everything. I'm just adding a little bit more yellow right up here in the center. Get this one a little bit darker too. Another trick, you don't want to use too much, but if you add a little bit of white to your yellow, that will make your yellow a little bit more opaque. Okay? So, then we have our background. We did our we did our red stripes on our popcorn box, and now we painted in all our popcorn with yellow. Now I'm going to put out a little bit of brown. And I'm going to take my liner brush and I'm going to add a little bit of brown to this yellow. We want to really make like a golden brown, not a really dark brown, like a medium brown. You don't have to overmix, and I think that's a good color. I'm going to wipe my brush off a little bit. This is my liner brush. When I use my liner brush, I twirl it between my thumb and forefinger because we use it more like a pencil. And now I'm going to go in, I'm going to start adding in some detail to my popcorn. I'm just, wherever my popcorn has these curves for its odd shape, I'm adding in these little golden brown curves. So wherever it's a little bit rounded, these do not have to be perfect. They're really squiggly shapes. And I'm just adding in little brown curves. Almost like little smiles, little exclamation points, frownies, commas, and just following the shapes, the pencil marks, which because it's yellow you should be able to see still. And adding in these little golden brown curves, smiles, sad faces. Just want to make some of the popcorns have a little bit of shading. Maybe some of it got burnt in the microwave. I'm going to do these. There's nothing perfect about these. You can put as many little curvies or as least as you want. These are kind of bigger down here, so we can make our lines a little bigger. That was like a little clump down there. And I think this is maybe 2 over here as well. Some of my lines picked up yellow, so they're a little lighter. So I'm just going to go back with a little bit of the regular brown and make a couple a little bit more dark edges. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just adding a little bit more total brown just to a few of them. Maybe they got a little bit more cooked. But not, you don't want to overdo it. And then put in a little dot in most of the centers if you can find them, or just pretending you know where they are. Just it's a little part of the popcorn where it popped from. Okay, so that's what we have so far. And I'm going to wash my liner brush. Get out a little bit of black now. And then that's going to be all our colors, I believe, for this. Okay. I like to move around when I'm painting. So while one section is drying, we can work on another section and vice versa. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit of black. I am turning my liner brush between my thumb and my forefinger. And I'm going to come up here. I'm going to do some eyebrows. Okay. Then I'm going to outline the entire eye. And we're going to leave the little part white, and we're going to paint the big part. I'm going to get around the pupil here a little bit. Be careful you don't put your hand in your wet paint on the rest of your project. And I'm filling this in. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to outline this whole eye. Paint around the pupil as much as we can. We're going to add a little bit of white to that at the end once our black dries. And I'm just filling this in. Try not to go back and forth to fix your eyes. If they're uneven, so be it. You will end up fixing, and then you'll end up with giant eyes. So if they're a little off, it's okay. It's supposed to be quirky. It's just a smile on a box of popcorn. So again, I outlined this mouth, and I'm just coming back in here with my liner brush and filling it in. So I'm not going to be painting in the white on my box. I am going to be outlining the outline though. If you want to paint in the white on your box, that's up to you. Go right ahead. I am just going to outline the very outside of my box. You can go ahead and outline each little square. But if you're going to paint white, I would suggest you paint in the white sections first. When that dries, come back and do the outline. If you can't make one solid line, just do a little bit at a time, inch and a half at a time, and bring them in to meet each other. Okay, I could go back around all of the red. I might not, I don't know, I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna leave that for now. And I'm going to stick with my black, and I'm going to put in these little action lines. These lines give the illusion, make it appear as though the popcorn is popping out, falling out of the box. Okay? And then I'm going to wash my brush again. And then last but not least, if you need fresh white, put some out. I'm going to come over here to the unblued up side of my white puddle. I'm going to get some white on my brush. If you need fresh white, grab some fresh white. And I'm going to go back to my popcorn. And I'm going to put some white highlights, just the way we added in the brown and the dark brown, but I'm only putting the white to one side. So if you notice, I'm not putting the white around everywhere like I did with the brown. I'm putting the white to the top and the left sides of my popcorn. Not on all the sides. And again, does not have to be perfect. And there you go. How cute is that? Now you can go in, you can paint this white. You can do all the outlining on your red and black if you want. You can go around and outline the whole entire top of your popcorn in black if you want. But that is it. I'm going to leave that for now. You can make it your own. Let me turn you guys around. And there we go. Here's our little popcorn art. Isn't that cute? Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.